Good morning, Uganda, and welcome back to Morning at NTV. My name is Idris Matusegawa, and we are hitting it into the Kickstarter on the show. Now, on 14th January 2020, then Uganda Revenue Authorities, URA's Commissioner General Doris Akol, reportedly proposed that the OTT tax be transformed into a full-fledged tax on internet data to be paid by users. Now, Doris Akol left URA for the private sector, but her suggestions have found themselves written into the finance minister's tax proposals. Now, to speak to us about this and more, we have Ms. Dorothy Mukasa, the ED of Unwanted Witness at an Internet Rights NGO. Now, I know most of us are so interested in this topic, and we're going to delve into it and dissect it so that you go away informed and knowing your rights. Ms. Dorothy Mukasa, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Idris. Good morning, viewers.
How was the morning? How was the Easter holidays?
Wow, Easter holiday for us, we are hit by this proposal. You know,
Yeah.
it wasn't business as usual, because we know how our internet is struggling, but also how our people are struggling to be able to connect and also meet the requirements of the cost requirements to be able to connect. So the proposals that that the Minister Kasaija tabled last week really hit us the bad way as Unwanted Witness, because all our efforts are geared towards ensuring that the government respects internet as a human right. And in so doing, they are supposed to provide avenues and to ensure that all Ugandans access internet. We are happy that the OTT has been removed, right? But then it's then shocking to see that there's a proposal of a 12% tax on the data, which is already expensive.
Ms. Dorothy, before we delve into that, I want you to tell us about Unwanted Witness. Who are you?
Unwanted Witness, we are a civil society organization that advocates for the use of internet and technology as a human right. We know that technology enables a number of rights, but also it can be used to limit the enjoyment of these rights. So at Unwanted Witness, we try to strike a balance, you know, in the use of technology. Can technology promote the positives, but also minimize the negatives that come with the technology? So that's why that's who we are at Unwanted Witness, and this we do in through research. Our latest research was in state of digital rights, you know, in that it speaks to the issues that really the minister tabled, the cost, you know. It's a cost that has been, you know, hindering people from connecting, and then it's even make that the tax is going to make it really worse. We also engage in policy advocacy. We do capacity building. We ensure that people are safe and secure. We ensure that, you know, there's no discrimination in the use of technology, because we know it's in Uganda or even globally, gender issues are very pronounced when it comes to technology, the capacity, the access, the knowledge, but also given that men own more tools than women, so it creates that gender digital divide, you know, that is existing in the country. So we try to bridge that divide to ensure that everybody enjoys their rights on the internet.
Well, one might think that since the OTT is being scrapped or being withdrawn, you would be happy at Unwanted Witness. But what's the issue? What are the consequences of what the minister is proposing?
Idris, I want us to understand, and our viewers to understand, the kind of landscape we're talking about, Ugandan landscape, when it comes to technology and internet. Over the years, industry players have done research to inform government policies, to inform sector players, to ensure that, you know, all practices and government efforts are geared towards promoting the use of technology, because trust me, technology is the driver of the economies in this world, you know. So we can't run away from that fact. And also it's reflected in Uganda's 2040 vision, you know, where it states that technology will drive development in Uganda. So if that's where we are coming from as a country, are we walking the talk, okay, as a country? But also it has shown over the years, research has shown that Uganda, the barriers to internet use and access in Uganda, there are 3 key barriers, and one of them is cost, okay? And some of the research is done by government agencies themselves. For instance, an agency like NITA-U, yeah, it's responsible for coordinating and regulating information technology services in the country. You know, we would assume that government as Ministry of Finance and NITA-U work in hand in hand to ensure that this promotion comes into effect. But then if the ministry finance comes up with a tax that's really going to hinder enjoyment and access of the internet, it leaves Ugandans wondering how our government works. In 2018, NITA-U did a research to indicate that 76% of Ugandans, you know, have indicated that cost is a big limitation. So it's ranked as number 1. It's the topmost hindrance to internet access in Uganda, 76%, you know. But you also have slow internet access, which stands at 49%, you know. Over 49% Ugandans will tell you this is the second biggest hindrance to internet access in the country. We also have poor connectivity, standing at 41.4%. So these are the 3 topmost barriers to internet access in this country. And this information was availed by NITA-U, and a government agency. So we would think this information should be shared by the Ministry of Finance or consult a government agency, which is NITA-U, to ensure that whatever tax is being proposed helps to promote the sector instead of hindering or even hindering the promotion of this sector. Yes. So if you have 76% limitation of internet access with cost as a factor, and then you're adding more tax, you know, on this, then it beats our understanding. How are we going to promote? How are we even going to achieve Vision 2040? Innovation drives on technology. Even when people innovate and there are no users of this innovation, it is going to waste. You know, are we thinking in the right direction as a country? Are we promoting technology for that regard? Okay. Looking regionally, you know, Uganda, you know, stands at 2nd position after Tanzania with the highest cost of internet access, but also the connectivity. Shouldn't we at this point be speaking, how do we increase connectivity? How do we increase internet speed, you know, the bandwidth? How do we increase bandwidth to ensure that there is growth, you know? Trust me, countries with low internet speed, you know, have also been registered to have low incomes. Because technology is that thing. You know, you can't run away from technology if you want to develop. So the more we slap taxes on users, and the more we do not care about what sort of service or speed that we're giving, internet connectivity, speed and bandwidth we're giving to our citizens, the more we are going to remain, not even get into a middle income status as a country, because our priorities need to be set right.
Yeah. Technology
should be given all the attention. It should even be subsidized, you know. But then you have a taxi on more phones, yeah. In the recent proposals, the same proposals, there have been a proposal to increase tax on phones. But there's already a tax on phones. There's already tax on airtime, you know. You buy airtimes, the same airtime we use to convert into data, you know, it's already taxed. And then more tax is proposed, you know. We are going to continue creating that gap. Surprisingly, while Tanzania is the highest, ranks highest in the region, in the East African region, as a country with the most expensive internet bundles, you know, last week as Uganda was proposing to increase the tax, Tanzania was suspending a proposal of a new data package that was proposed by telecom companies. The government suspended that tax because it was expensive. Now, that's the way to go. You know, Uganda should also be thinking of how do we ensure people get onto the internet. People use technology to innovate. People use technology to find employment, you know, because of the employment gap, the unemployment levels, the high unemployment levels. Can we ensure that the internet is used for people to find employment instead of pushing even those few that are clinging onto the technology to push them away from accessing this technology? So we think this wasn't a well thought for idea. We think government needs to consult its own government agencies. You know, they would need to work hand in hand. Finance must work with NITA, you know, to be able to put that streamline the sector and ensure that people use the technology as it's supposed to be used.
The top billionaires in the world, top billion businesses like Amazon, Microsoft, are all technologically based. Apart from social media, what are some of the platforms under technology that are most utilized here in Uganda?
Incidentally, because technology is growing in the country, we are mainly relying on external or foreign technologies, you know. But then over the years, government has been talking about we'll have our own platforms, we need to have our own social media platforms, you know. Have a Ugandan Facebook, you know, have a Ugandan WhatsApp. But then you can't have these platforms if you're not
without internet.
Yes. You need internet, you need to promote. We have brains as a country. I am sure you have brains here in Uganda that can do much more better than the Mark. We have the Mark Zuckerbergs here in Uganda. You know, we can innovate. Ugandans can innovate. But trust me, the environment is not enabling. You know, we have laws that hinder innovation. But then we have, on the other hand, we have laws that promote innovation. So, you know, we wonder which way do we want to go as a country. You know, are we taking a single direction that we want to get where Ugandans should be? So I think as a country, we do not have local platforms, yeah? So we're mainly based on foreign platforms like the Facebook, the Twitters. These are the mainly used, WhatsApp, you know, that are used. But then we should see government promoting local ideas, local innovation. It's possible. We can do it as a country. But then we need leadership. Leadership that thinks in technology. Leadership that breathes technology. Leadership that sees this country as a technology base. We can get there.
As Unwanted Witness, what are some of the things that you are planning to do to appeal to government to change this? Because, well, you've done the research, you are connected to companies like you too. So what are some of the things that you're putting in place to say that we need to influence the government to make the right decision? Clearly, as you say, they are making the wrong decision. So what plans do you have to rectify that?
We've over the years engaged government, you know, through relevant ministries, Ministry of ICT, but also through Parliament, because Parliament is very key. Even when they made proposals of OTT in 2018, you know, we told government, look here, this is a wrong move. It will not work, and it has actually failed to work. But then it was introduced also in a wrong spirit. So we engaged members of Parliament. Surprisingly, they really did not listen to so many voices that were speaking negative about this tax, the OTT, and they really passed it. And 1 year down the road, they're also calling out government to pay for them the same tax that they passed. So as Unwanted Witness, we'll continue to engage. We can't tire from engaging the stakeholders and government at that point. We're intending to petition the Speaker late this week to ensure that we make our voice heard. You know, we want to draw the Parliament to the fact that what they're discussing has already some facts set aside for them. Maybe they lack these facts, you know. We would want to put these facts together and present them to Parliament so that they make a decision, well knowing that whatever decision they're making is adding salt to injury to already a struggling sector. Okay, so we would present our views to Parliament to ensure that we contribute to the policy making process. But we will also continue to rally citizens, speak to people, you know. This is a good platform for us to be able people to understand that they have a voice. You know, they have a right to demand for accountability. If you're having an internet speed which is very low, yeah, and then instead of government supporting to increase that sort of connectivity, they're really putting a tax on already bad service. You know, you have a right to demand for accountability as a citizen. So, and also knowing that internet is a fundamental human right. Today, COVID showed us that, and we continue to witness that internet is a fundamental human right for us to survive. You know, in the proposals, government is saying they're going to exempt medical and education. In the recent shutdown, you know, everything was shut down. Did government know that there are people surviving medically on the internet? That people were studying from the internet? It was shut down. So this is also a hoax, that they're going to exempt medical and education services. And there's no way of really distinguishing which service somebody gets from the internet. So we think the whole idea should be dropping the idea of adding a taxi on data bundles because it's already high.
Some might say that as good and as developmental technology is, there are some people who misuse it. For example, the recent shutdown of social media, whereby the government claimed that there were people who were misusing social media platforms to incite insecurity. How does now the government, if you are advising the government on using technology, how do they, would you suggest that they curb such issues?
Thank you, Idris. World over, internet is regulated, but then we've seen over-regulation of the internet, you know, mostly in authoritarian regimes, you know. States that are authoritarian have over-regulated the internet. But there are also international standards, you know, that Uganda should not run away from, you know, because it's a signatory to these UN conventions. So we know that people misuse the internet. That's a fact. Yeah. There's fake news, there's misinformation, you know. All this happens onto the internet. But we also know that the benefits far much outweigh the negatives. And therefore, how should government come in to regulate, you know? Government is supposed to follow standards, principles that are set on the international scene. And if there is any limitation to the enjoyment of the internet, it should be necessary, you know? It should be necessary to serve a specific purpose. You know, it should be demonstrated that this is necessary, not waking up one day and government says, oh, we are attacked, so we need to shut down the internet. It should be necessary, you know. It should be proportionate. You know, if for instance, if you want to curb misuse of the technology, you don't impose a tax. That's not proportionate, because you're going to harm those that even use it in a positive way for the development of the economy, you know. So should you then impose a tax broadly, you know, arbitrarily on all users because you're curbing the misuse? That's not proportional. But it should also be legitimate, you know. There should be a legitimate cause, that whenever there's a limitation, the cause is legitimate to that particular action that government wants to take. So these three principles are very important, not only for the internet, but for any human right that government wants to limit. You know, it should follow the principles, the three-pack standard.
You know, because so many teenagers and young people have had an addiction, which is negative on addiction, and on internet. Viewing sites that are pornographic, also maybe other misleading sites. And maybe the government might come out and say that this is a regulation of, if you can't afford this, then probably you are not using it. Yeah. And probably also the other issues that have cropped up is looking for tax. The government needs money. So isn't that justifiable for the government to say we need to put tax wherever we can to raise funds for the government, for the country?
Economists will tell you, Idris, that there are so many untaxed, sectors in Uganda, where government can really tax. But we also think, people who advocate for technology, we think government can benefit more if at the start it opens up for people to embrace and also increase the technology. Like I mentioned earlier, that research has shown that where there is low internet speed, these countries have low economies. Their income levels are really low. But those countries that have high internet speed have gained high income status. Okay, so meaning that government can fetch more taxi if really we have the sector has grown. Let us grow the sector and then tax it. But also the business of taxing and overtaxing and double taxing the same service, I think is by law is not acceptable. Yeah, you can't make people pay double tax. It's not acceptable. On the side of the teenagers misusing and abusing the internet, yeah, it's a fact, but then tax is not the alternative. We as citizens need to support, and I talked about capacity. Some people do not know how to use the internet, to have the benefits, to harness the benefits of the internet. It's not an issue of tax, but it's an issue of awareness, capacity building, making people understand, the young people understand how. But we've seen young people who have benefited from the internet, who have sought employment, from the internet, who have made it using the internet. How can we use those as case studies for other young people to emulate, and be able to embrace internet for the positive, not for the negative, but still, we can't get rid of the negatives. We can only minimize. We can minimize those, but taxing, slapping more tax is not the solution for us. It doesn't buy into the idea of curbing immorality on the internet. No, we need to think otherwise, through awareness. Government agencies like UCC, NITA have this responsibility of creating awareness. Other NGOs like Unwanted Witness, have come in to supplement that role. We can do better and scale out the awareness and promote the good use of the internet to all young people by giving examples of those that have made it through the internet. I think that's the positive way to go.
As a rights advocate NGO, we've been talking about internet and the right to have internet, but what are some of the rights under law that I have as an internet user, that if something is done, I should know that, oh, this is my right and I have a right to defend it?
Thank you, Idris. In 2012, the UN General Assembly unanimously resolved that all rights that are enjoyed offline must be observed online. Meaning that whichever right that we've ordinarily enjoyed by the fact that we are human beings, we translate with it, to the online space. Look at an example of freedom of expression. It's a right that we are entitled to, as the fact that we are humans. That right translates into the online space. But now onto the new rights that have come onto the online space, access. Access is a right. Access to the internet is a right. It's a universal human right that everybody should be enjoying. I have a right to access internet. My government should be able to provide me with that opportunity. It's a right, God given. But also rights like assembly, association. We so much assemble online nowadays, and also COVID taught us that we can work online, we can study online, learning online. All these rights, are supposed to be enjoyed onto the online space. Okay, so when government comes up to regulate and enacts all these other laws like the Computer Misuse Act, the Anti-Terrorism Act, you know, the Uganda Communications Act, you know. As citizens, we have a right to be able to scrutinize these laws and ensure that they do not prohibit our enjoyment of the digital rights, because they equally matter. So the law should be promoting, you know, the use of the internet or technology for that matter, rather than prohibiting. So all the rights that Ugandans know about, you know, that we enjoy off the internet should also be observed on the internet. Yes.
There has been scrutiny put on NGOs like Unwanted Witness. Has that affected you in any way?
Unwanted Witness is a law-abiding NGO. It's a law-abiding NGO. So we know what our mandate is as an organization, but we know what we are supposed to do, our limitations as the law stipulates. So we work within the law, and
you've not gone beyond what you're not supposed to do.
Definitely, we know what our mandate is, and we always stand out for that mandate, you know, because the law gives us that mandate.
So what if whatever the law that has been proposed by the minister, if it's passed, what would it mean for an internet user? Wow. If there is a 12% tax on internet and data purchase?
I want to draw us back to when the social media tax was introduced. In 2018, in June, when it was introduced, between July 2018 and September, those are 4 months, you know. The research done by UCC indicated that by the introduction of social media tax, it created a drop from internet usage of 13 million Ugandans.
Wow.
Rather, 3 million Ugandans, not 13. 3 million Ugandans dropped from the internet in a space of only 4 months, right? And that was OTT. But remember, OTT could be evaded, yeah, via the VPN.
The VPN services. And
exactly. Many people evaded using VPN, okay? But then 3 million were off. Now, just imagine this is a very direct tax that it goes onto the data that we consume, okay? Meaning that it will not be able, Ugandans will not be able to evade it, okay? But there's already a tax on the data. Now, that double taxation, trust me, it's going to throw away so many people, you know? The poverty levels, we know Ugandans, the unemployed, you know? We know how employers are really downsizing their staff, you know. All these people are going to be cut off. But we know that very few people can access the Wi-Fi, you know, meaning that it's going to have a grave impact on the e-commerces, you know, the people during COVID who closed physical shops and went online, you know, marketing their goods and stalls online, delivering online deliverables, you know. But it's also going to affect the government. We also know what tourism brings into the country. But it's purely thriving on the internet. Technology enables this sector, the tourism sector. The education, you know, we've seen people continue to study online. How many can afford? It's going to further widen the gap between the poor and the rich people of this country. And many are going to, you know, to get even more poorer, because even the little opportunities that they could access via the technology will have been closed.
Oh, wow. Ms. Dorothy, thank you so much for this detailed discussion on internet. And before I let you go, how can I access, and the viewers who are watching, Unwanted Witness? Location and probably social media handles, since you are an internet NGO company.
Yeah, we are an internet organization, internet-based organization. So we do most of our work onto the internet. And we have a website that we've been running for a long time, which is www.unwantedwitness.or.ug. but also onto the different social media platforms. Just go to @Unwanted Witness, Twitter @Unwanted Witness, Facebook. You know, you'll interact with us. But also on our website, there's a phone contact for those who are still comfortable with making phone calls. Yeah, we have a phone number that one can reach us through that contact and be able to interact on these issues.
Well, thank you so much, Miss Dorothy Mukasa, for coming through. And viewers, on that note, go to our social media platforms, that is Facebook and Twitter. Just look out for Morning at NTV or NTV Uganda, and share with us your feedback on anything. Right now, let's take a short break. We shall be right